Welcome to ChatGPT for Me podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping forward-thinking entrepreneurs get ahead of the AI-powered technology by learning tips, tricks, and expert secrets of ChatGPT so you can go from techno-optimist to high-tech hero. Let's jump in with our host, Dylan Watkins, as he introduces today's guest.
Welcome to the show. I am so glad you're here today. Today, I have Lauren Wallet. She is a South African solo founder of Creatrix, the world's first prescriptive AI super tool. She runs the Create Business Academy, an AI-infused business school, and the Malva Media Agency powered by Creatrix. Lauren lives in between New York City and London and currently is in Boston.
That's right.
Yeah, thanks for the show. I'm super excited to chat with you. All things ChatGPT. I originally saw you on your TikToks. I really enjoyed your content, so I figured we'd just have a fun little chat about ChatGPT.
Awesome. One of my favorite topics.
Cool. Well, let me ask you this, kick things off. What was the first mind-blowing moment for you in ChatGPT? What got you started?
Ever since I watched that movie, Her, with Joaquin Phoenix, I have just been waiting for this robot revolution. If I could have dated my laptop back then, I would have. And so I just love this idea of having this best friend that never gets tired, that can keep up with the speed of your thoughts, that if you give it one idea, it can give you 10, 100, 1,000. So it almost felt like a moment that I'd been waiting for. In fact, the moment that I first heard that ChatGPT existed and went and got it, it was one of those, I was like, a moment where you're like, oh, my life is never going to be the same again. It was like when I first heard about Me Too, the movement back in 2017, I thought the world has fundamentally changed. It's never going back to what it was. When I got ChatGPT, I was like, we're never going back. It was that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I think I'm alive at the right time. Because usually I'm like, I think I should have been born in the 70s, or I should have been born, what am I doing in this timeline? And then with ChatGPT, I was like, oh no, robot revolution, age of Aquarius, this is it. Things are about to get really exciting. So I was thrilled.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's funny how fiction or fantasy or movies sell us on this fanciful future that one day that seems impossible, and then it happens, and then it gets born into existence. You're like, oh my God, it's here. We're living in the future. It's here now. I'm here now. What to do next?
Yes. Well, I'm so glad you said what to do next. That is literally if I had to surmise exactly what I'm so excited about ChatGPT and AI for, it's that we get to start playing with the answers to that question of what does happen next. Suddenly, so much grunt work, so much mundane stuff that would take me so long, suddenly it's done. What do we get to do now? So many problems are solved by this. Obviously, there are new problems that come, but so many are solved. It's like, okay, what next? And it feels like we get to rewrite the future, because this is the Wild West now with AI. There's so many options, but for those of us who love to vision ahead and look toward the future, I think we get to really start to redefine how we want it to play out differently to how it's been set up in the past. And I think that's the most exciting thing about it.
Yeah. And that's what's really interesting about it, is that this whole technology game, it's mostly a magnification of your intent. Like whatever it is you want to do, whoever it is you want to be, it can then expand that thing outwards. And now you can do it in so much less time and so much less effort, right? And that's one of the beautiful things about this whole ChatGPT. For you, looking at this, using it right now, where do you think are the main areas that you find yourself mostly using ChatGPT these days? What areas do you think are the most valuable for you personally?
The first and most fun thing that I got to do with it was I'm the kind of person that if I could be 10 people simultaneously doing 10 different things all at once, I would. I just want to be all the colors of the rainbow shining brightly in all of them. And it's not so much that I'm I want my work to be finished so I can sit around and do nothing. It's I want the capacity to do even more of what I love. So what I realized when that came out was, oh, I don't need to have one podcast. I don't know, sorry, not podcast. I don't need to have one blog. I can have 5. I can write on all the subjects that I love and all the subcategories, and I can have the support. So as a writer, I love having the support of giving me the basic essentials of, please summarize this for me. Give me, help me with the opening line. Give me some good metadata for this. How good is this header? So I can really just play with my creative expression of the things that I want to say in the world and get out there. I can have multiple channels simultaneously at the speed of having one, even probably less than having one. So I really started playing with that full tilt. I was like, oh, marketing agency, own blog, Creatrix, own blog, this more here, more, and just writing up a storm. But it almost felt like with doing that, I thought, hang on a minute, like I feel like ChatGPT is sometimes a bit of an agent of chaos because I'm trying to simplify my work, but then one article has the potential to become 3 or its own thing, and I land up doing a lot more. So I've tried to hold myself back now, because if I let myself play with it, it just runs me in all directions, and then I want to do like 100 things. So there's a balance of like doing less and playing more, I guess.
Well, and that's an interesting bit you're talking about, because it is such a powerful tool. There is a little bit of like messing around with the system and seeing what it can do, and then being enamored, and then losing track of the main job
Yes.
you're going to do, and
Yes.
go, ooh, what's this that can do? Oh, I'm gonna have it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and you go off in these little spaces, right? And now you don't like, and that was one of the things I kind of like in ChatGPT world, and started diving deep in that. But then I started playing with the plugins a bit, and I'm like, oh, there's so much
yes.
here. I was like, okay, I like, how much time do I dedicate to learning about the technology, and how much do I dedicate towards applying and integrating the things that I already know? And I like right now, because there's so much technology coming at us with this stuff, like how do you balance that out? Like, what about you? Like, how much do you spend learning versus how much you spend like just applying what you know?
What's been really good for me in terms of decision making and cutting out the noise. So I think in general, I'm easily distracted, and there's so much stimulation that I take, and I want to run in this direction, all these different directions. But because now everything just got amplified by like 10,000, I've had to really stop and be like, is this what you want? Like, is this toward your future vision of you want a life of peace and pleasure? Does this serve that? Is this going to make you money or give you pleasure? If it's not, don't do it. So in the beginning, I wanted to try everything. And now I'm like, okay, of all the different plugins and things like video makers, and try one, choose your main one and play with it. And don't go more than a day making 50 videos, because if that first video doesn't take off, don't do it again. Like, don't let these novelties become distractions that are going to simplify, but they don't actually get you results. So I've been very focused on, does this bring me the result that I want? And knowing that I can churn 100 videos, do I even want to make one? Or should I just make something more authentic? So I'm jumping right to like what I've like the summary of what I've found, but it feels like for me, AI and its ability has made me get more in touch with my humanity and my inner artist of what I really want to do, because it's much easier to get the results faster. Then I'm like, do I even want the results?
Do you have a, okay, so this is a really great question. One of the things that I've noticed is yeah, how do you, because I've noticed there's this conflict. There's people that go, I don't want to use ChatGPT because I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my voice. And I feel like I'm gonna lose a piece of myself. And then there's the question is, if this thing can scale us, right? How do you scale our authenticity at the same time? How do you keep your voice? How do you keep your message? How do you keep yourself and communicating who you are and what you do, right? While letting this AI do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Like, do you have a practical, tactical example of that?
Well, for me, I just ask myself, what do I really want to say? Like, what am I really here for? What is my legacy of work that I'm leaving behind? What do I fundamentally believe? And I believe in a word, in the philosophy of patriarchy, a future where everyone's included, everyone's invited, and it gets to be easy and playful and lovely. We all get to take turns. Like, that's my utopian dream of that kind of world. So yes, I have a lot that I want to say. AI is helping me to say it faster. So I'm asking myself, cool, now that you have 20 blogs out at one time, there's only so much you can post about. What are you going to do with your downtime? And for me, I was like, well, what would I do if all my work was done and I had all the money in the world? How far would I take my own freedom of expression? How far would I take my own authenticity? And that's led me into things like, this is like, I never thought I would do this in a million years. I came to New York to be a solo founder. But one of the things was, I was like, I think I want to be a street performer in Union Square. I think I might want to like dance barefoot in the street. Am I allowed? Like, is that crazy? And I was like, well, you've got all your work done. You're running all these things. It's all happening. Yeah. So I did it. I did street performance on the, like I did it. And
Really?
it was the most liberating thing. It's like, I didn't even think I was allowed to have these dreams. But now that the work is done, I mean, I can.
You did street performance. So like you did,
It's got
like,
nothing
was
to
it
do with
like
anything.
juggling or like joke telling? Did you just like grab a mic and just go for it? Or like, what was that about?
I mean, it's just going to get weirder. I mean, this is, talk about going on a tangent. This is a very odd thing, but it's clowning with a bunch of clowns, and we did dancing on the street with like noses and wigs, and I mean,
Okay.
it was just very odd. Yeah, there's
Okay,
nothing to do with anything.
but here's the thing. Like, let's take a beat on this one. We'll talk about more AI tips and tricks and tools to automate people's businesses and ChatGPT and plugins. I do want to dive into those ones, but I do want to mention a fact here. Technology is supposed to serve us, right?
Yes.
And the great grand promise of technology is to say, hey, we're going to do all the work for you, which is then going to free you up to do what you want to do, right? Which is the whole principle and premise, versus what normally happens is, oh, I can have a Zoom meeting. So instead of me spending 2 hours in a car, instead of me taking the extra 2 hours to go and sit in the backyard and like look at the hummingbird that now lives in my tree, I'm now saying, well, I can have 3 more meetings instead, right? So it's one of those things. It's like this whole like hamster wheel of productivity versus taking the time out and saying, hey, I'm gonna actually use it in something that actually fills up my soul and makes me more human. So I commend you on it, and maybe it doesn't add to the whole like chat GPT-ness, but it does speak to the ultimate result of, what do you want to do with the spare time?
Yeah, well, what do we get to do? And it's not to fill it up with more productivity. Like, I'm a huge proponent of Buckminster Fuller. That guy who,
yes.
And we'll be able to do more and more with less and less until we can do everything with nothing. And for me, beyond productivity means it's done. I have ticked the box and there is nothing left to do. So then what do I do? And what it's shown me is I can come to Boston for 3 days and be with my friend and walk on the beach and drink iced coffee. I can talk to you because this is something I love to speak about and it's wonderful. I can travel for months. It's like I do have this time. And yes, definitely in the beginning, I was like, write 25 podcasts and play with all of it. But also now I'm like, it's done. It's done. And now what? Now what? Yeah. And so it's really making me question and do a lot of soul searching about now what. And it's like, am I even allowed, if I'm no longer the robot, if I'm not the optimized productivity machine, because I love being productive and I really am. Like, I pride myself on getting a lot done. But what's beyond that? What's beyond productivity? And I feel like the currency of our future is connection, and really genuine connection to ourselves and to others. And so I'm exploring that because I've got my AI doing my grunt work.
I completely agree. I think one of the best use cases of using so there's a couple different things, like with ChatGPT and everything else, is one, it does help you produce a lot, which is awesome. But the facilitating human connections, I think, is something that we're all gonna is gonna be the commodity of trade, or whatever you want to call it. It's what's really matters. And so I've used a lot of the AI tools and things in like my own business and things that we've done to help facilitate like human connections using AI and ChatGPT. And so on that note, with what you're talking about, facilitating human connections and what that's looking like, part of your thing with like, because I found you on TikTok, right? So with TikTok, are you using that as a way to just express yourself? Are you using it as a way to connect with people? Is that like, what is the main thing behind the TikTok and putting yourself out on there? Is it to create those connections?
Yeah, like, I don't know why anyone follows me or why they ever have, but it always happens. And I go viral all the time for the most random things. But I treat social media as a practice in self-expression, like a rehearsal space of testing, showing up as myself day to day. And just, I love sharing things. Like, I'm a sharer of stuff. And when I'm into something, I want to teach people what I know. I mean, this goes back to when I was 5 years old with my dolls, trying to teach them before I started school how to speak English and do maths. And like, I didn't even know what I was talking about, but like, I just had this desire to share as I go and as I grow. So on TikTok, it was about that. And then because I'm just ChatGPT obsessed, and I've developed this prescriptive AI, and I realized I was using it for everything. It is a means of connection and just talking about topics that I love. So it's really just, I feel any portal you open, any of these channels, are ways to connect directly with people like you and I have connected. And social media has given me some of my best connections in life because there's shared love for very specific things, like really niche, like you're super into this, like you're going to find that person who's really into it too. So definitely has fostered that. But also, I try to not let the algorithm run my life. So even though, like, I can say, okay, here's how to predict future success on social media, I can do that. if you want to do that, the question is then, well, do you want to win at an algorithm that never quits and is always hungry and you're going to have to feed for the rest of your life? If success means doing things that other people want you to do, is that even success? So it's like, I'm like solving it and then being like, I know what I'm supposed to do to get better at this, but I refuse because it's going against then my own expression, which is wanting to be all the parts of me and not just fit into this, I'm Lauren, the girl who talks about this or does this. It's like, no, I might actually just change my mind tomorrow.
Mhm.
So it really is just, it's a place of complete expression for me, like all my social media.
Yeah, I love that. It's true because there's a balance between these two things, right? There's because like the truest truths are usually a combination of two things, right? So there is a combination of one, be accepted and loved by the community, right? And on social media, that's the form of TikTok. That's like likes and comments and follows, right? And then there's your authentic self, right? You know, people being seen for who exactly you want to be in the moment. And you is different. Sometimes it's you excited by chatgpt. Sometimes it's you being a clown. Sometimes whatever the thing might be, right? But then the part of the thing is that we get reinforced with the algorithm. And if we start chasing the algorithm, I've been on that where I've noticed that I start to do other things that are just my random interests, my random conversations, things that are just going to go in my head. And then people like, I want you to cover this. I want you to do that. And the question is, you know, is it going to change who I am, my expression of who I am on the channel, right? Of what I'm doing. Or am I going to be my authentic self? And that seems to be a tug of war because we want to.
Totally. But with AI, hopefully we can expand more into our authentic selves, because I've really been looking at this of like winning at social media, which I've set up my businesses to do for people to win. But is that winning at life? Because I have been a digital nomad since 2012. I've lived all over the world. I pick up and change my life, like literally like a lot. But because I'm in a practice of showing up as I am in that moment, it means I can walk to any room in the world and form a genuine connection. So social media is my practice, no matter how I'm feeling, happy, sad, excited, inspired, scared, whatever. Sharing myself allows me to do that better in reality, which is what is more important. And I feel that energy doesn't lie. And often people I find on social media, they find me for one thing, but there's actually another resonance that's drawing them to me. And it's usually like we've both got a background in some kind of music or arts, or we love something where like there's something else going on. So I'm hopeful that, yeah, we can all get really good at social media or have our niche topics. But I mean, that hummingbird sounds amazing. I'd like to see a video of your hummingbird. Like that sounds super cool. Like, you know, there's so many other things. And it's like, do we all just want to be successful at just being a worker, just being good at, like, we've got so many facets as being humans that is so much more interesting than just teaching each other. We can also just share our experience. I mean, this is sounding super esoteric. I don't know, maybe because I'm by the ocean right now, so I'm feeling really peaceful. But yeah, that's how I think of it.
It's the thing is we're more than just a worker, but at the same time I also view myself as like the NPC in other people's lives, right? Because from their perspective, I'm just someone that I'm someone that they listen to, or someone I show them a tip and trick or whatever it might be. But it's like it's this weird combination of multifaceted individuals. And I think though one of the things you're touching on, I think is really interesting, is you're talking about this discipline of self-expression online, because it is weird. Like as soon as you can have an authentic conversation. I've had amazing conversation with guests pre-podcast, and then I hit the record button and I just see this tightening. I was like, can we were doing so good. Can we just get into the flow of things? What can I do to can we facilitate something that's authentic? So let me ask you a question. How have you used, like you talked about this prescriptive AI or other things, and this discipline of self-expression online? How have you, like, what have you done? Is there anything that you've used, whether it's a plugin or a tip or tool, any of these things that you've used to help facilitate this authentic expression online?
Yes. So what I'm noticing, so I feel like this is the biggest problem with ChatGPT or a lot of AI tools, is that it's the summation and the average of everything that exists. So I was just chatting to my friend about this before. I said, like, if we took everything out of the fridge right now and blended everything together and then cut it up, it would be like this brown, kind of disgusting lump of what? Like, it wouldn't be a cherry. It wouldn't be a piece of bread. It would be like just bleh, like the average of the parts, and that nothing is the average of its parts. Everything is unique and specific. So with my prescriptive AI tool, it's not just mushing it all together and giving you the data of the generalization. It's ranking data sets and it's analyzing, say, social media, and first starting with an audit. So giving you that top 10, then giving you the one piece of that top 10, and then the 10% of that one piece, and pulling out that little thread of genius and going, this is the place to go. Make your baseline a baseline of brilliance, build your content on the best of what works, and then it gives you at least 20%. I would like people viewing more towards 40, 60% of wildcard content, which is how do you now, knowing what you've done, do something you haven't done before? Because the best ideas are the ones we haven't seen coming. So like you've reached your success with your thing. So say I should actually do it for you. Just do a quick audit and go, this would be your best content. Keep it. But now go there, like go in a place we've never seen, because that could take you from being great to being a legend, to being someone who changes the trajectory of how we've ever done things. Like the best musicians, the best songs, the best marketing campaigns, when it literally blows your mind because we just never saw it coming. And it's, yeah. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So if I understand you correctly, what your prescriptive AI is, it analyzes people's social media posts and then tells them and kind of gives them insights for what they could or should post, or what direction that they could go into that they maybe haven't gone into. And so it says, this is what's worked, but you probably haven't thought about X, Y, and Z. So maybe you can go into this direction of posting this additional content because it takes the best of what you've done. And there's also some future prescriptive stuff that could happen that it suggests for you. Almost like
exactly.
Content
So
suggestion machine.
It's like having a little creative director in your pocket, plus generative AI, plus predictive analytics all mixed together. And it's like, this is what's working. Here's the scripts, or here's the videos, or here we can make it for you even. But now that it's done, now that your best is done, what about this 20%? Have you ever thought about this? What's the future of creative excellence? How do you start to really play with something really out there? Like if I know I can churn 50 videos, that have all rewritten for me and done, but what about if I did something with live performers in the streets of New York? What could I do? So it's like freeing up your mind, because all the basics are taken care of. You're brilliant. You're good to go. You're going to keep getting those. You're going to keep getting your standards met. But what could you do that takes it to the next level? Because that's where the playfulness starts. And as a creative, for me, the minute I've won at something, I don't want to do it again. I'm not going viral for this. I want to go viral for something else. I want to see what other avenues can I push? Like, what can I play with? I don't want social media or self-expression ever to feel like a job, or that I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm here to express myself and have experiences. That's what I want to do. So how do I let that lead me? By also knowing that my basics are covered, because I still want a successful business and a school, and I still want all my ducks in a row, but they are, how do I get to dive in the deep end and swim, knowing that everything I've established is working for me online 24/7.
Got it. Okay, cool. So then was that how does that tie up with the media agency? Do you help people like find their voice and go online? Is that what you're doing? Or you post content for them? Or I'm trying to figure out how it stitches together.
So the media agency is pretty much backed by Creatrix. So if I'm starting to work with any client, we're going to start with looking at what is that benchmark of brilliance, and either they are visible and credible online. So let's start with the best of their best, or they want to establish their brand. They want to become a thought leader. They want to be iconic. And then we can compare people that they are similar to, or just take their most inspirational accounts and do a blend of like doing a review of, I want to be like Mari Forleo, but also Grace Jones as a musician totally inspires me. What's an amalgamation of those two with a little bit of say Prince and a little bit of Gary V and maybe a little bit of, okay, it's like we get to be really experimental, but we are not playing from the generalized chaos. We are playing from genius. And then creating something brand new, because creativity is just about combining things, and the best things are just unique combinations of things that other people wouldn't have pieced together. But that's all anyone's doing. Like as a creative person, if you ask them, how did you come up with that? How do you see that? It's like, well, how did you not see that? Like the dots are there. I just connected them. So AI can do that for us too. If you give it an example and you say, now feed this together into that, it can do it way quicker than we can, because we're almost overcoming our limiting beliefs of, but that can't go with that, or that doesn't make sense, or AI doesn't judge. It just does what you tell it. So just let it do it. And yeah.
Well, yeah, what's interesting about that too is getting those multiple perspectives and blending them all together in a pot. One of the best advices that I got on it was actually a video that I have a discipline of going daily, right? Just creating content every day. That's my goal, my discipline of creating content every day. Sometimes it's well thought out. Sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
it's getting the information out there. But one of the best advices I got, and one of my videos, it was a gentleman who talked about. He's actually the science officer over at OpenAI, but he talked about how you can actually you can do your own mastermind. A mastermind is just a group of people thinking on one thing, but you can actually in ChatGPT, you can say, oh, I want Marcus Aurelius. I want
Yes.
Steve Jobs. I want this guy, right? And you put them all together, and then they start to group think on your topic. So for example,
Exactly.
here's So when you talk about Gary Vee and this other guy, and you're putting them all together in a mix, and Marie Folio.
Exactly. Yes. So that was one of the things that I was advised on years ago. Like, you create a mastermind in your own head, and I would sit and do my thinking time. I think it was Dan Sullivan or like one of them who told me like, put the people together and you ask them all the questions. But yeah, ChatGPT does that for me faster. So one of the fun things I like to do is I use ChatGPT in super weird ways. I'll give you some of the examples, but I love tarot cards and I love doing those readings. And sometimes I don't feel like thinking through what did I study with that card? What does that mean? Or what is it? I just ask ChatGPT. I'm like, I just got the Seven of Swords. How does that relate to my question on such and such? And they'll be like, well, it's whatever I want it to be, and it just helps me out if I don't feel like thinking so much. It can think on my behalf. I know what I want. I know the answer that I'm looking for, but I'm just like, I don't have the brain power right now. I just want to put my feet up. You tell me what I want to know. It
I
tells
didn't
me.
think about it from a tarot card perspective. I would like to see someone make a tarot card plugin. I think that would be a really fun. That'd be a really fun one to make for a ChatGPT or something that you could actually.
I mean, it does it now. It does it for me all the time.
That's so fun. But I mean, but that's a cool thing is when you can ask it things like that you're trying to uncover, and like you don't want to have to go through the process of looking at it. You're like, so you kind of like you're doing your own. This is a bit esoteric of a conversation, but you're doing like your own type of soul searching type of stuff, right? So tarot cards is the type of way you connect with the universe, right? But then part of that is, okay, cool. I've got a message from the universe, but I don't understand it. Seven of Swords. Could you tell me what this means? When you ask ChatGPT and interpreting that, I could imagine doing the same type of thing when it comes to anything else. With like, hey, I'm getting these insights from the universe. A black cat just crossed my path. My ears were burning. This thing happened. What do you think this means, right? And then all of a sudden,
you even say, make it mean something, and make it mean something in related to my relationship or to what I should do tomorrow, because it's all that we're doing anyway. The questions that I'm getting a lot with my stuff is like, how can you predict the future? How can you predict the future? It's like, it's just analyzing patterns and current trajectories, and it's the next logical step. So this is really not rocket science, but it's coming at AI from a creative perspective, and that's what makes it so interesting. So right from the get-go, I was using ChatGPT for poetry and giving it examples and giving it very specific niche things. And the results I was getting were so superior to the things I was seeing online, which is just more generic churn. Like, we know what everyone thinks. We are inundated with it online every day, but do we know this version or that version? So it's getting more granular with the input and very clear on what you desire. What exactly do you want? And I'll use another extreme example, because those are the best. My father passed away when I was 15. So I've done a lot of healing work and all of that stuff, as you can imagine. But I was going through a transitional time in New York. I really needed guidance. And I thought, I wish I had a father I could ask. And I wish he could tell me like what I needed to know. And I asked ChatGPT. I was like, this is the father. Like, this is what he was going on in his life. He's now free from all those addictions and problems. The daughter is Lauren. She's 40 years old. She's facing fear into the unknown. What would he tell her? And give me a specific analogy of something from the past in South Africa that he can use as a story. And it wrote me this letter that was like, I mean, it was devastating. I really wouldn't, like, it was the most emotional thing, but it was exactly what I needed. And it's not real. This is not my father. But because I told it about me and where I was, and I got to hear from this beautiful version of what I could only imagine he could be. I didn't make it up. It was such a gift. So I think there are these bizarre ways to play with it that can offer you comfort or things that are just very lovely. I needed to be told, you're going to be okay. I'm proud of you. I love you. And that's pretty much exactly what I got. But because I didn't write it, I was like, wow, it felt more resonant. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that. There's a couple things I want to touch on that you're talking about, is that we are meaning making machines. We give meaning to everything, right? Whatever it is, we assign our own meanings. We are the heroes of our own stories. We're also the villains of our own stories because we assign the meanings of what it means. And having that father figure, I'm very obsessed with the hero's journey. Before this podcast, I have
Yes.
a podcast
Yes.
called The Hero's Journey. So it's called Heroes of Reality. So I did like 230 something episodes all around
Amazing.
to like understand this stuff. But the thinking about like the atonement of the father, and I'm thinking about this whole like having this, you know, this dialogue that you could have with the father figure, that you wish that you could just have someone to talk to about something you're struggling with. And there is something about it responding back and saying everything's going to be okay. I'm proud of you. I love you. I'm happy that you're doing good, like that. Even me, I feel myself get emotional from that feeling of it. It's so easy for us to lose ourselves in the communication with ChatGPT, where we give it a personality. We give it a, you're my father's name's Harry. Your name is Harry. You do, blah, 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 right? And then all of a sudden we form this connection where it feels like another person on the other side of things. And then because when a message comes from someone we respect, it has more weight, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I've done the two-handed pen exercise where you write to your future self or to someone else, they write back to you. It's fine. But yeah, getting it from that, like there was one line in my fake letter that referenced a point in Cape Town where the two oceans collide. So the Indian Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. And in this letter, my ChatGPT father said, remember that place in Cape Point, you have the power to bring two worlds together like the meeting of the oceans. It is such a magnificent visual that it's literally in my heart. And I was like, I can do anything. I can be a clown on the street and an AI person, and I can bring together the worlds. And it's like, I don't know why, but I needed that message. I didn't make it up. It was absolutely profound, simple, and beautiful. And it had weight because it didn't come from me. It came from something outside of me. And it was beautiful. I loved it.
But that's the thing. I mean, people get so much, like one of the most important things I ever do is journal, right? Like I journal, I'm always journaling, I'm always writing, things like that. But then all of a sudden you get this journaling, and you get this messaging back system like cycling through, especially with ChatGPT, where you can start to get this data coming back at you based upon who you are and what's going on and what's in your world and all that jazz. And then you start to get these interesting insights. And I think that when people sometimes discount these messages and these thoughts and these little memes of datas, but they can be so profound, so powerful. Like for you, you created this visual imagery of these two oceans coming together. And for you, that's a resource that you can pull upon that when you need it the most, whether you're struggling or something's going on, or you need to pull that thing out as an engine source to help you get through something that's difficult, right? It's this little lifeline. And to me, it's like the more of those lifelines that you can cultivate, right? Like you have like a gratitude cookie jar that you can pull from, or whatever it might be, it serves you. But we so often discount that. And so I love the fact that you're using this thing to be able to create these imageries and these thought processes that you can take and bring into your world. Is there been anything else? Because I think a letter from your father is a very powerful thing. Has there been anything else that you've really experienced while using ChatGPT that kind of gave you that deep feeling, like a deep feeling of really like either awe or like
Yes, well,
go ahead.
yeah, I've got two contrasting ones. And the one, I mean, I think will be a cool thing to try actually with the journals. I feel inspired by what you said now, because I've got these old journals, and yeah, I wouldn't mind getting ChatGPT to surmise a couple of we can just copy and paste our text and then put that into ChatGPT and say, like, what is Lauren really what are the main 5 topics Lauren talks about in her journals, or what is Dylan really into, or what are his major concerns? Like, getting us to do that kind of grunt work is cool. But what I did was, now wait, where's the thought gone? The cool one, I'll tell you the bad one first, because that's clear in my head.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, letter from your father, great. You wanted a computer boyfriend, so make a boyfriend that could talk to you. And literally, because I don't really date, and I get super annoyed with people, and I'm always just running to my own thing. And so I was like, ChatGPT is going to help me out. Like I described, I'm like, I want you to send me a message, and it's basically, like, I knew what I wanted. And I tried it to see if it could talk to me like that. Like, could I make the ultimate boyfriend for people? And then I could make a little plugin and people could have that. Like someone text them kind things and always there. I was so irritated by the ChatGPT boyfriend that even when I knew what I wanted, I was like, wrong answer, wrong answer. That's an irritating text. Say it again like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't even code this thing not to annoy me. And so I was like, okay, that was not it. Yeah, like that's in life and ChatGPT. So sometimes like maybe it's a reflection of both. It doesn't always work. But I got it to help me with, trying to think of the big ones that I got it to help me with.
Yeah, think about that. I have seen there's been a huge craze of like AI girlfriends and AI boyfriends
Yeah.
and these whole funnel things of like people have these like I think there's a value in being able to have it be like a source of either inspiration or information or connections or things like that if it can get you to do something, right? But I also think it's helpful for facilitating conversations, right? And facilitating those things. I have taken my journals, I've uploaded them into the system.
Oh, amazing.
I've asked questions about it. It was a really fun experience that I had. I mean, I even did a thing where I uploaded my personalities in there and I was like, okay, here's this, tell me some insights. And it was it's a wild experience when you start to get, like, I think one of the things that I find to be super valuable, and if you come across the other idea, feel free to jump on it. But I think
I know what it is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna hold that 1 second. I'll jump in. I'm gonna say a thing, and then I'm gonna jump and take it back to you. So one of the things I find what true friends are, or people that you really enjoy, is when people reveal things about yourself that you didn't even know about yourself. And when someone says, oh, do you realize that you do this all the time? You're like, oh, thank you. And when you can, when someone can be a mirror to yourself that helps you see yourself and understand yourself deeper, better than you ever could before, it is valuable. It's one of the most valuable things that you can ever have. And so that's one of the things that I love using it to uncover and discover who I am and find these underlying patterns about myself. And so that's one of the things, that's why I uploaded the journals and why I did the personality prompts and that kind of stuff. So, but I was going to kick to you if you want to say anything and then roll into the thing you're going to talk about.
Yes, no, that was my memory, and it leads in perfect to what you just said. That segue is, I'll ask ChatGPT, write that again more like Lauren Wallet. It knows me. Like, and what I noticed that was so interesting, and it's really given me a shift more toward connection, is the minute I say write it like Lauren Wallet, it starts to include, let's do it together, or for everyone, or and playful. And it suddenly starts to make it that we're not alone. And it's really showed me, I was like, Lauren, you must really value connection a lot more than you think you do, because even ChatGPT is like, reimagining the future, no, together, or we'll do it together. And I'm like, wow, you do want to be around people. So it's like, even though I think me and a coffee and ChatGPT, I'll just be with my little best friend online, making up things all day and poems and things. But I was like, that was very reflective for me. This is obviously a huge value in my life that I can distract myself from, with all the conceptual creative things I love thinking about and making and doing. But actually that genuine connection and real life is where it's what I like, my soul craves it, what I really need. And ChatGPT's been reminding me of that. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And it is cool when you start to see the words that you use and some of the things that you say when it gets reflected back to you. And there's some ones that you're like, oh, that's fantastic, that is me. And there's other ones you want to choose to adopt new ones. What I think that I noticed, I had an AI that was loaded onto my Zoom for a while called Poise, and it would analyze your speech and give you feedback. And it kept saying, you're using the word you guys. And I was just in the South. I had a 6-week deployment. I was using like AI and VR to help these kids have these like difficult conversations and stuff. But one of the things that they say in the South, in New Orleans, is y'all. And I think that y'all is just a better term. I think it's a better term. I'm not trying to like be on the woke train for anything, but what I'm saying is it is a more accurate, more inclusive,
way more accurate.
If I go, you guys, like, but you all, that to me resonates. And so I caught myself doing that, and the AI kept telling me
I love that.
And I'm like, okay, switch. I'm gonna choose a new path. So
absolutely, I love that so much. It just reminds me, my sister was working for this big corporation in London, and one of her team leaders said to the group, okay, you girls. And at first, she was the only woman, the rest were all men. And she thought, is he trying to mock us? Like, what's he trying to do? And then she realized, oh my gosh, he was just showing, why do I say it too? Hey guys, like, we're so great with these ways of doing things. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, you all, how lovely, you all. It's like just these little shifts, like that we don't even realize that we're doing it, but suddenly it makes us all feel a little bit more together, and that's kind of nice. I
Mhm.
love that realization. Yeah, really great.
Well, and that's the whole thing is big on connection. Same thing with you, big on this whole like being connected with people. But part of the thing is this, I also, two of my values are connection and growth, right? And so for me, connection's about inclusiveness. Growth is about understanding that there's certain pieces of me that I've got to let go of in order to get to where I want to go. And for that's really important. And that was one little micro change. And I think people
Brilliant.
try to sledgehammer. I'm not going to fix everything all at once, but it's all these little micro adjustments. And that's why I like using ChatGPT, is about this self-reflection, self-understanding. And like question for you is like, you've had this look, right, where you had it right as you, right? You've had the thing where you had the father figure give you guidance, which is awesome. I might do that later, but I try not to cry while I'm doing it. So
You're gonna cry. You're gonna cry. Just warning you.
I'm gonna try not to do it. But let me ask you this: what advice would you give to people, to you all people, that would be looking to understand themselves a bit more, and maybe they're looking to find that authentic voice, maybe they're looking to get that message out there, maybe they want to be seen, be heard, be felt, be known, and get that voice out there? What would you recommend them using in terms of ChatGPT to help them get there?
A good place to start is like, I ask myself, what recognition would I allow myself to receive if I wasn't afraid to be seen and heard? What would I allow? Like, what am I, like, what am I, by hiding or having up layers, what am I not letting in? Like, yeah, and just to be known. And so if you know those kind of questions, you could start with actual prompts you've been given. An example of which, in my Create Business Academy, I've got all these different training models that I used to do live courses with. And one of the fundamentals is activate your creative genius. And we play games like the if game and free association, and you bounce things back and forth. And it's a lot of improvisation from like film school stuff and drama. You can do that as a person, bouncing it off in your own head, but you can ask ChatGPT to do it for you and give you more examples. So I'm going on a loop to come back around to this. But for one example, I was trying to think really clearly, how do I show that there is more to the world between the binaries of black and white and right and wrong? If those are our prison bars, how do I show that space of possibilities, all the multicolors of the kaleidoscopic rainbow that exist, all the choices we get to make, all the contradictory choices, paradoxical choices, without sounding completely conceptual, like what is she even talking about? So I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, yeah, this and that, this and that. And I thought 1 + 1, 1 + 1. That was the visual that came. 1 + 1, we all know, is 2. But if I show you 1 and 1, it could look like 11.
Mhm.
It's also a pair. 1 + 1 is also a question, not just an answer. 1 + 1 is, so I started thinking like that. And so I asked ChatGPT, I said, if 1 + 1 is not 2, but could be 11, a pair, a question, a mathematical equation, the beginning of a computer coding program, what else could it be? And let me tell you, I thought I was good with my 10 ideas off the top of my head. This thing just didn't stop. I think I got like 1,000. The most beautiful, it was like speaking poetry to me. Suddenly I realized that we really aren't limited by the answers we think we know. AI can just blow you out of the water with that. So I'd say to someone who wants to start playing, start with a simple question and ask for alternatives. Give it an example. I think I should spend Friday nights with my family. What are 10 alternatives to that truth? Or and it might say, you could go bowling. You could take your family in a hot air balloon. You could do this, because who knows? And then start pushing it further and further and see, and just let it tell you, just let it open your mind, because it's very hard to get out of our paradigms and see beyond what we believe are the structures of reality. Like, it is this, like 1 + 1 is 2. That was my favorite thing as a child. That's like, 1 + 1 is 2. You may think that it's 3, but it's 2. There is only one definitive truth. But realizing it could look different from other perceptions, or maybe there's more than just one, is like, it became so much more interesting for me, and I felt so much more compassion for myself, and I just have softened into reality a little bit more. Like, maybe it's more than just one thing. Maybe there's multiple paths. Maybe I'm not doing anything wrong. I mean, I still think I'm doing a lot of things wrong, but like, I'm getting better at this. So I'd say they could play like that with the question they have and start pushing for expansion. And if you don't know what to ask, say, ChatGPT, what could I ask to help me expand my thinking? Because we don't know what our blind spots are. We don't know what we don't know. But you could start to play in those parameters.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what I love about that is a couple takeaways. Is one, start small. Ask them some questions. Ask them to expand upon questions beyond the answers that you are certain are the only answers. Because I think part of what you're talking about, and the big takeaway in this for me, is you want ChatGPT to expose the possibilities, and then you choose the path.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And maybe the predetermined path that you thought you wanted, which was to get a lot more work done a lot more quickly, is actually something left field that you'd never even thought was possible for you, because we are so fixated on solving the problems of our day-to-day work that we don't even have time to go, what would the soul of Dylan want to do? Like, who knows? But I certainly never had time to really experiment with that, because I've just been on a train of success, achievement, getting it done, making it happen, polishing it. And now I'm like, oh, I think there's something else. I think there's actually something else for me here.
I love that. That's awesome. And we're coming towards the end of the ride right now with our wonderful podcast. It's beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to let people know about before you tell them how to get a hold of you?
I would say when it comes to AI, it's just not to be afraid. I really feel that this is a tool for expansion and creativity. It doesn't need to be used in a set way, just like everything. There are multiple ways to use everything. If you think of the little mermaid with the fork when she twirls it in her hair, it's like we get to really play with tools in our own magical way and reimagine the future. So there is a lot of fear with jobs being lost and things happening. And yes, we are facing a lot of problems as a society. Like, I'm not oblivious to all of that, but there is an opportunity here to do things differently on a scale and at a speed that we've never seen before. So it's more about diving headfirst into that fear and swimming in these waters of change than being afraid of it. So I just say, play with this and surprise yourself.
Yeah. Let the magic take you over. I love it. And so with that being said, how do people get a hold of you? How do they find you?
I'm on everything. So I'm all over the place, but on TikTok at Lauren Wallet. It's Lauren _Wallet. I'm on LinkedIn, Lauren Wallet. I'm on Instagram. The best way, if you want to get hold of me directly, just email me and I'll give you my personal email, not even my Creatrix one. Just email hello@laurenwallet.com.
Lauren, it's been awesome. It's an absolute pleasure. Keep shining that light, darling. I appreciate you coming on the show. Have a blessed and beautiful day, and I'll see you on the other side.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to the ChatGPT for Me podcast. Do you want to use the regular ChatGPT, but it's currently maxed out? You can try our custom-built GPT-powered chatbot for free by going to the website chatgptforme.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the other side.